let's begin. Hello, everyone. My name is Héctor Canto. I've been a software developer with Python for the last 8 years, more or less. Currently, I'm living in Barcelona, which has a very alive scenery for software development. For the last 2 years, I've been at World Sensing, which is an IoT company, especially focusing on smart cities, industrial IoT, and since we are here, I want to have the opportunity to say that we are hiring. We need more people. We've landed some huge projects lately, and if you want to change a bit and see how it works in World Sensing, please talk to me or with my colleagues. Also, I would like to thank World Sensing to pay the trip and to give me the opportunity to learn a lot of new tools. They give us the time to explore new tools and really make our life easier, which is very good. So, in World Sensing, I had the opportunity to look for tools to explore project templates, and since it was very useful for us, very useful, I think it's a good thing to share with you and help you in your day-to-day. In this talk, we will talk about 3 topics: why and when we should use project templates, how to use Cookiecutter, which is the tool for it. It's very easy to use. And I will take some time at the end to talk about some choices, some tools we use that maybe they are not for you, but I think it's a good starting point. We've been thinking a lot about what we use, and especially if you are a beginner, probably you will find them very useful. Before starting, it's important to know that those 5 terms are mostly the same. They have some differences. But when you go to the web and you want to know more about project templates, it's good to know that depending on the background of the people, they use one or another. I will try to use only templates, but it's possible that I will put some boilerplates in the middle. So sorry for that. Why and when to use project templates? The why is very clear: automation and collaboration. So, why automation? Because you save a lot of time. Until you do it, you say, it's very easy to start a project. But when you automate it, you are saving like hours that you are not coding. You know what you want to do, but you are putting empty files in a structure, and that's a waste of time. I really love this chart. This is for XKCD comic strip. And it's very useful for you to know when to automate. When a repetitive task, takes too much time, is the time to automate. And starting a project is one of those cases. Also, you need to reduce human errors. Machines are better for us for some stuff, and we should let them do their job. And the other case, I'm missing okay, the other case is collaboration. When you work in a team, maybe in your company, with a freelancer, within an open source project, you have to reach agreements. That's a painful task because everyone has his own opinions. People spend many years researching new tools, and it's difficult to reach agreements. Once you reach them, I think a very good way to write them down is to put it in a project template. There is your Bible. And in my own experience, when you work with third parties, sometimes they take a shortcut. They don't do tests. They don't do documentation, and you have to complain. If you have a project template, you have a starting point, and you can say to them, "Look, I put this structure for you, and you didn't follow it. It's bad that you don't make tests. That's really bad. But if you have it in front of you, it's even worse. So it's like a psychological thing. It's a way for you to start a complaint easier. So believe me, it's quite amazing that people, if you put the folder test there, they will do this. If you don't, probably don't. It's amazing. So when to use it? The quick answer is always. But okay, sometimes it's not worth it. But most of your work in software development will be some of that. Private libraries, public libraries, typical API, especially when you use a framework, you have you apply the same recipe all the time. For example, we in World Sensing, we have like a platform and some systems we take data from. But the systems vary from client to client. So we do the same middleware every time, but with different changes. We could extract some libraries. We actually did it. But it is impossible to extract a structure to a library. It's very difficult to do it. So the way to do it is to do a project template. In general, when you have any recurrent project, you should have a project template. And as you learn and evolve with your project, you should keep your template up to date for the next one to come. Quite easy. I won't enter very much in how Cookiecutter works because it's quite simple. But there are other talks on the web to really know how it works. But let's see to really know it. First of all, very easy. Install with pip. Usually you will install it globally, not in a virtual env, because you are before starting the project, you are outside the virtual env. So you have to system-wide, sudo, or maybe user, which is probably the best option. You will get a project, maybe your project, or maybe a remote one. There are like hundreds of them in the web. Probably, if you use a persisting template, you don't need Jinja at all. But if you want to edit them or create your own, you learn something. But a few tips is enough. If you don't know Jinja, it's a very famous template system that was created by the people that created the Flask. You can use it in Flask and also, if I remember correctly, in Ansible. So it's quite, if you learn it, you will probably find it in another project because it's very, very popular. So how to launch it? Very easy. You have a template in a folder or maybe a remote template. And even when you are developing, it's very good to be able to use the develop branch or any other branch to test it because it's quite cumbersome also. Anyway, all the options, there are only a few. You can have it with the help command. So once you launch with any of these commands, you will be prompted a series of options. These will be variables within the template. We will see it later. You put your choices. Maybe you want to have the default one. You press enter. You have mostly test. You have options and booleans here. This will be the choices you make, and the Cookiecutter will make something to create the template, the project. So if you see, we written boilerplate on the project Slack variable, and there was some variables there, and as you can see, we choose to have test, always do that, and the boilerplate option was printed everywhere. Also, to print this structure, I use the tool tree that I found very, very useful. So install it and use it. It's very useful. Let's see. You don't only replace things on the file names or the folder names. You can also replace things on the code. This is a typical license file. You have an if statement. This is you can use Python functions with Jinja, and this is another variable. This will be replaced to this: the full name, the date, and Actually, here is the rest of the license that gets printed here. Okay. So this is, until this moment, we are using some template that is on the web. Maybe it's useful for you, but you probably have your own choices. For example, this one was made by the founder of Cookiecutter, and she uses restricted test. I prefer Markdown, so I took this template and changed. It's very, very simple. So when you start your own template, you have like 3 options. Start for the beginning, create every file, especially if it's a new scenario for you. For example, I don't do data science, so my first data science project will be I have to research on the web what other people do. There is probably a data science template, but let's say it doesn't, so we start from scratch. Another option is take a known repository and start cleaning this up. This file is very custom, out. This code will be repeated, in. The idea is to keep the reusable code that is not possible to take out into a library. The third option is to take a existing template. Anyway, we follow the same recipe. We start with a simple repository, like that's my minimal repository. We add some things that we think they are useful. For me, this is mandatory. Tests, maybe README is enough, but documentation. Changelog, I really like that repositories have changelog because they say a lot about what is known, not only in the README, but how it evolved. That gives you a lot of information, and especially when different versions are deployed here and there, it's easier to track errors. For me, PyTest is my choice for testing, and actually we always use the same configuration. The only thing that changed is the name of the source folder. So from this point on, I don't have to change the configuration. It's already set. And some other options, I really recommend to use Docker because it makes your life really easier. I don't like Makefile very much, but it's useful to have some scripts that automate things for you. At the end, the idea is always the same: automate, automate, automate. We use SonarQube to review our code style and complexity, and this is a new thing for us. We wanted to. We were missing some information within the projects, and since we really like the idea of infrastructure as code, we also want to have the decisions we make in a architecture point of view within the project itself. And I think it's really useful, so it's another recommendation I would like to give to you, to take the name, architecture, the name is Architecture Decision Records. Look for it, and there are a lot of formats to follow. Take one, and you will see after a few months working on a project that it's very easier to understand. You see, why they are using this technology. You go to the records, and okay, this is the key. I cannot change this because of the reason. The other way around is probably the guy that took that decision is not in your company anymore. You don't know how to reach him, and you are lost in the project. So we have this project folder, and now we want to transform it into a template. And first, we put the project in the second level. We add a level. We add some mandatory files from Cookiecutter, which is the Cookiecutter JSON, these hooks, we will explain later, and obviously README and Changelog that every repository has to have. There are another 2 in there, but this is for the template, and this inside is for the project. And we start to use Jinja. This is the very first case. You replace the project name, the specific project name, to a generic one. When you make the choice in the Cookiecutter JSON, you will replace that. We will see. So some Jinja basics. We use a namespace. This avoids us to conflict with another Jinja 2 templates. Imagine that you are using Flash, you have some templates there, you don't want Cookiecutter to mess with that. So this is a typical mistake. Remember to put Cookiecutter on the variables. Then, apart from variables, you can replace code blocks, an if statement, for loops, macro, comments. There are many options. This you will learn as you learn Jinja 2. Myself, I never use anything apart from variables and ifs. So really, you probably won't enter anymore. If you really want to have a very high level automation, you need to go for that. But for the day-to-day, no need. More examples, folder name, file name, code lines, it's quite easy. This is a README. We only have one variable there. Remember, file names, folder names, and also code. So once we have a bunch of variables, we retrieve them and put it in a JSON. And this is the Cookiecutter JSON. This is the keystone for the template. And you can use test. You can use Jinja functions, which are actually Python functions. From this name goes the project Slack. It's actually a replacement of spaces and uppercase. You make some choices. You can put lists and booleans. So far, they are trying to do more interesting stuff, like help commands and stuff like that, but it's not there yet. So, okay, and the JSON is not enough to do all the things you want to do. So for that, you have these two scripts, a pre-generation project and post-generation project. Pre-generation hooks are usually used for validation, and also dependency checks. And post-validation hooks is after the template, the repository is made. You may want to remove some file, to download some file from some other location, and that's not possible with the JSON. And you have to implement it in Python, which is very useful if you don't have to use Bash or any other language. Actually, one thing I forgot to say is you can use Cookiecutter for any language, but you have to implement it in Python. So I never went past this phase, actually, but you can also go ahead and start your project, make the first commit, and open your virtual environment, because probably you choose the Python version you want, so you can go very far with this. And we launch it. We remember the JSON here, and we will be prompted every one of the options. In this case, I didn't want the file name. I'm OK with the project Slack, which is the derivative from this one, and we make some choices. So sometimes you press enter because you only change the first one. OK. So that's the first iteration. You reach it to a good point, but the project continues for a few months, and you learn that this file will be common to all the projects like this. You learn that you don't like your style, you're missing some rules that you discover later. So it's good to keep like the two repositories, the live one and the template one, together and move things around until you reach the higher level you can. For my experience, it's very usual. The style changes. Your colleagues will give you a lot of feedback, so use it. And probably the deploy artifacts are not very clear at the beginning, so later you start using Docker, so you put Docker files into the template. Of course, the README and the changelog. So you have to improve the instructions as you go. So let's make a quick recap. We create a repository, maybe from scratch, maybe from something existing. We put it in the secondary level. We add the Cookiecutter structure. We replace values for variables, define the JSON, implement hooks. Probably you will copy it from the previous template if it's not your first. And we launch Cookiecutter. Probably you will have some errors, so you iterate until you are satisfied. And then remember to maintain. So for Cookiecutter, that's probably all. But I wanted to talk about how to keep things clear in a repository. These choices, they are very personal, but sometimes they are very hard to find or to choose between one and another. So I give you mine, be critic, research about them, choose them if you like, or choose another. But probably you will have to make a choice between this or other options. I think that any of these items is mandatory. So first of all, keep a consistent versioning system. One of the best there are is semantic versioning 2.0. So next Monday or whenever you can, check it, because you will probably like it. Between the options that are there, I really love Markdown, which is almost a standard. No? GitHub imposed it, other people are using it, so I think it's the default choice. Use some doc tools, at least have a README, that's mandatory, and then probably we use make docs and Sphinx, for example. There are many out there. One of the best changes we made in the last year within my company is to move from unit test to PyTest. Some of the people there, we already knew PyTest, but we were like afraid or lazy. We didn't want to make others take our choices. But at the end was a common decision, and it was really a huge change. We can do more tests, better tests in less time. That's amazing. So my love to PyTest guys and girls, I suppose. Also, talking again about the standards, the chainlocks were a little bit messy, but we have it, which is good. And we found keepachainlock.com a few months ago, and that's improved our syntax very well. Of course, Docker, I don't know what's your experience, but for me it's like now I cannot work without it. It's like very, very useful. I said it before, we use SonarQube, and also in researching Cookiecutter was a part of an effort to extract the reusable code into private libraries. It's really helpful. I've been like 6 years not allowed to make private libraries. It was crazy. And I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know how wrong it was. Now that I do private libraries commonly, it's amazing. So it's a strong recommendation I want to share with you. So of the choices we made, there are some that I don't like. I didn't find the solution, didn't have the time, but just for sharing, Makefile, I think there are projects there that really simplify that. Makefile is a bit, I don't know, old, to say the least. Actually, the next talk in this room is about replacing Makefile, so I will be there. PyPemp, instead, or Poetry. I test both. I didn't change yet, but it looks good, a bit better than the current state. So take a look to PyPemp or to poetry. The setup.py is there forever, but I really hate it. Probably I need to spend more time with it, but if you know any solution to that, please talk to me. And also, I was exploring CSH lately. It was very well, so I recommend everyone to take a look, just for inspiration. If you like it, change it. If you don't, take what you like. Until I already talked about 3. To do some demos about Cookiecutter, I use this web page that helps you record terminal prompts. It's very, very quick to use, very easy to use. So I hope it's helpful for you. And the last one, this was critical too. Since we use Docker, we develop locally, we deploy, use Jenkins, all the things. But for legacy reasons, we have like environmental variables everywhere, at least in 3 or 4 files. And it was very hard to keep them together. You have to put the 2 in the IDE and check one by one, human error, and that was the source of a lot of mistakes. So we reduced all the 4 to .env, and with .env, it is loaded when you enter the folder, and it's unloaded when you get out. And if you change something, it won't be loaded automatically, because you may make a mistake. So it's good to be able to control that. So this kind of details, they are very little, but they save you a lot of pain. So maybe it's not the tool for you, but being able to automatize and centralize the configuration and the variables is very important. Well, I have some homework for you. This is university again. And please try Cookiecutter. Start with the official ones. Start your template. It's very easy. Please read about any of the topics we recommended. I recommend that too. Semantic versioning and keep a changelog. Tweet if you love it, if you don't like it, if you have any suggestion. And also at Goal Sensing, we started an engineering blog a few months ago, and you may find something useful for you. For example, this talk is written into an article, so you can review in a more narrative way what we have talked. So, any questions?